Ben, Michaela, Sanvi, and Fiona are at the beach house. Sanvi has discovered that the experiments that were performed on the passengers were not unfruitful. In fact, the Major found out that some people are more sensitive to the callings than others. The most sensitive one is Cal, so if she finds out about the kid, his life might be in danger. Ben realizes that the matter at hand is more serious than they thought, now that his son's safety is in question. Then, we are shown a flashback of the time Daly was flying the airplane right before the disappearance. Suddenly, an unexpected storm appears right in front of them, but Daly manages to bring the plane out of it. It caused severe turbulence, but at the time, no one thought the results would be so drastic. In the present, Ben and Grace are sharing custody of Cal. The relationship between them is still shaky, but they have figured out a way to coexist as friends and parents. Meanwhile, Michaela is still constantly getting the calling of the blizzard. Moreover, she regrets what happened with Jared last night and feels awful for her best friend. Jared, on the other hand, thinks that they are meant to be together, even if it means divorcing his wife. However, Michaela is strictly against the idea. At night, Ben gets a call from Daly. Together, they go to an aviation simulation center. Daly shows him a file that contains every report about Flight 828, except it is all false. They go through the simulation to find out that the storm that is shown in the file is not even half as big as the storm they had to go through. It is clear that someone is trying to hide or suppress the real data from coming out. Daly thinks Fiona is a mole and is helping the government. Ben argues otherwise, but Daly is not ready to accept it. In the following scene, they meet an archaeologist who was studying supernatural erosion at the time of the plane's disappearance. Coincidentally, he was also around the area where the plane disappeared. He knew some reports put out by the government were fake, but before he could raise his voice against them, he was threatened and asked to keep out of the matter. He has since retired, but he still thinks about the storm to this day. Upon being asked what he knows about the storm, the man says he doesn't have the original data, but at their repeated request, he hands them the info about something called the Dark Lightning. The storm they faced that day was not a regular one, but an unexplained phenomenon called the Dark Lightning. After receiving the reports from the archaeologist, Ben and Daly go to the flight simulator once again. To Daly's delight, the simulated storm is exactly the one they faced when the flight disappeared. He can finally prove that the disappearance wasn't because of his impotence, but because of the storm. But unlike what happened in 2013, Daly can no longer fly the airplane through the storm. He crashes the plane every attempt, even after doing the exact same thing he did on Flight 828. Daly loses his mind and starts putting the blame on Fiona. The fact that she studies shared consciousness is enough for him to believe that she was planted on the plane to make it disappear. In the meantime, Autumn goes to Michaela's place to keep an eye on her. She also finds Cal at her apartment and is fascinated by his intelligence. Michaela gets a call from Ben, where she mentions that he is with the archaeologist. Autumn hears this and is quick to tell the Major what Ben is up to. A while later, Michaela is at the police station when a message pops up on her computer screen. It says that the archaeologist died an hour ago in an accident. She is shocked and positive that the death wasn't accidental. She and Ben try to contact Daly since his life may also be in danger. When they get no reply, they go to his apartment and find a wall filled with pictures of Fiona, the plane, and today's weather report. Upon further research, they figure out a dark storm-like thing has appeared off the coast, and Daly is planning to fly an airplane into it to prove the disappearance wasn't his fault. It is an idiotic step that is bound to get him killed. Michaela and Ben immediately go to the aviation simulator and discover that Daly has already stolen a plane. Not only that, but he has abducted Fiona, thinking that she will activate some magical spell that will make them travel through time yet again. They take off before Daly can be stopped. When they are in the center of the storm, a bright light flashes onto them. As a security measure, their airplane is shot down by the Air National Guard. However, it is reported that no bits of the plane are found afterward. When Michaela isn't home, Autumn breaks in and takes pictures of a file that Michaela uses to store all data about 828 and the passengers. Autumn also finds something shocking in Cal's sketchbook and tears a page out of it. Because of her, the Major finds out the holy grail she is looking for is Cal, since he is the most affected by the callings. While talking to Ben, Michaela remembers that Autumn was here when she talked about the archaeologist. Realizing that she is the mole among them, Michaela arrests her. At home, Grace goes into Cal's room and finds him missing. He has snuck out of the house through the window. In the next 10 minutes, the house is surrounded by police, looking for a clue to where he might have gone. Ben doesn't trust them since any of them could be working with the mayor. He knows that they must find Cal on their own, and for that, he should tell Grace about the callings. On discovering that everything Ben did was to protect Cal, she feels awful for how she treated him. Ben looks through Cal's sketches where he left a map for them. Most of them are sketches of forests and hills, but one page in particular catches Grace's attention. She recognizes it as the town of Tannersville. Another sketch shows Cal alone inside a cabin and an adult walking in. Jared helps them get rid of the police so the family can focus on finding where the kid is on their own. What they do not know is that the Major has also been informed about the missing child. She organizes a search party of her own, trying to find if the disappearance has to do something with the callings. Ben and Grace leave for Tannersville while Michaela stays behind to interrogate Autumn because she might know where the kid is. After doing some digging, she discovers that Autumn had a daughter before the plane disappeared, who is now under the custody of her adoptive parents. The only reason she is helping the Major is because she was told she will get to meet her daughter. Using the information, Michaela manipulates her into betraying the mayor. They go to her apartment to see the missing page from Cal's sketchbook. It has a picture of the exterior of the cabin that he is in. In turn for her help, Autumn is given the information about her daughter. Then, we see the Major for the first time. She is buying a new apartment in New York to stay in the city and keep an eye on the passengers. It is clear that she is after Cal and his ability, but her true intentions are still unknown. Meanwhile, Ben sees that Major's associates are also actively looking for Cal and are already in Tannersville. Michaela sends them the picture of the cabin from earlier, and they use the radio tower in the background to get to the said location. Fortunately for the parents, Cal is inside the cabin safe and sound. He says he is waiting for someone who is about to be there in a minute. The calling has told him this person is important and asked him to take care of him. Suddenly, a man bangs on the door and falls unconscious right after walking in. Cal knew this was going to happen, so he brought blankets and a first aid kit for the guy. However, he has no clue who the man is. Later, Michaela arrives and notices the man's jacket is the same one she saw in her callings. Hence, the person walking through a blizzard in her callings was him. A while later, he wakes up and reveals that his name is Zeke. He came to the mountains for a trek but got stuck in a blizzard. For the past week, he was inside a cave doing the best he could to survive. Then, he saw Michaela's picture in a magazine that he was burning for fire. For some reason, he knew that he had to find her, which is why he kept walking through the storm and survived. This means that Zeke was also getting a calling, which is strange because he is not a passenger. Then, the group finds out he went trekking 1 year ago in 2017. Somehow, he also time traveled like the airplane did, and no one has an explanation as to how this is possible. It is now the following morning and Zeke still cannot wrap his head around the situation. He says that he felt an earthquake when he was in the cave, which might have been the turning point, but no one can say for sure. As he and Michaela chat, they suddenly get the same calling and are transported to a field with a full view of the stars. They decide to go to the cave to investigate what went wrong. On the way, Michaela finds out that Zeke used to have a sister who died in the mountains. He blamed himself for her death and went trekking over a year ago to feel closer to her. His parents think he is a screw-up and don't want him in their lives, which is why he hasn't tried to contact anyone since yesterday. They go to the cave where they get the same calling again. Zeke remembers that the star is a symbol he and his sister used to associate with each other. The calling might be telling him to get closure on her death, which means they have to go to her grave. A while later, they make it to the grave and Zeke finally accepts that his sister's death was fate and not his fault. They believe the callings will stop now, but strangely enough, they touch hands and are transported to the same place again. Meanwhile, Cal reunites with Olive at home. The family is glad that everyone is safe. Jared joins them to talk about everything, but as they are chatting, someone throws a rock and breaks their window. Jared tries to catch the man who threw it, but is unsuccessful. After Daly's disappearance, the protests against the passengers have multiplied. The police are called and an investigation is initiated to find out who is the culprit. They catch an anti-828 leader named Cody. He is interrogated but let free because of a lack of proper evidence, but Ben cannot take risks when it comes to his family. Later that day, he goes to Cody's place and threatens him to stay away from his home. But the commotion is broadcasted live on a website, which makes Ben look bad for threatening people. At night, Ben returns home in dismay and starts cleaning the paint on their door made by the thugs. Grace joins him and assures him that everything will be fine. Ben also moves back into the house to make sure he is with the family at all times. Michaela and Zeke are about to return home when they notice a drawing on a rock. It is two people holding hands, just like how they are right now. Michaela brings him to her apartment and lets him crash for the night. Even though Zeke doesn't want to impose, he has no other place to stay. When it gets dark, Zeke sees a wolf leaping at him and realizes he just had another calling. Then we are introduced to a cult called the Church of the Returned. A passenger named Adrian has gathered people who believe the passengers are gods. He supports their irrational beliefs and becomes their leader. In the hospital, Sanvi is approached by a woman named Dallas, whose husband has a terminal illness and is on the verge of death. She thinks that only Sanvi can help him since she is a passenger. Alice is a member of the cult, but unaware of this. Sanvi agrees to take a look at her husband just to make her feel better. In the following scene, they are at Alice's home. Sanvi checks her husband, but he is too far gone to be saved now. However, Alice refuses to accept it and points a gun at the doctor. She orders her to help because she is one of the returned. Sanvi is shocked and can do nothing but pray for her life. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on the notification and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.